With this video, it's more of a bit of a general guide, so just don't take it as legal advice. If you do need a lawyer, please consult an attorney, but hopefully it gives you a bit of an idea where you can start reading, getting a bit of ideas of how the legal system in Australia does work. G'day YouTube, it's Alex here, and today I want to talk to you about the Maxims of Equity. Now, you're probably wondering, why am I talking to you about this? Well, for me, this is an interesting thing that I came across when I was in the States, where the legal system in the US doesn't necessarily reflect the whole equity concept that we have here in Australia or the UK, well, the Commonwealth at large. Now, what are the maxims of equity? Well, they're general principles and rules that the courts can use on contracts or civil matters to compel or not compel fairness to occur. Now, sure, you might have a contract and it is black and white as per the US, but in Australia, there's bits of grey that we kind of overlay on the law to allow fairness to occur. So for example, someone who's made a contract unwittingly or through duress or through other means where it wouldn't be fair to uphold the contract, the judge has that discretion to not enforce it. So what are some of these maxims of equity? Oh, I've got a bit of a list here and we'll read through. So, first one, or be really any order, equity considers that done what ought to be done. So if you have a contract or an agreement where it was 99.9% done and you're out there trying to say, well, I need that 0.1%, if it's not material, the court will still uphold the contract or may uphold the contract. Number two, equity will not suffer a wrong to be without a remedy. If someone has done the wrong thing to you, and you have a contract, the courts are not going to reward them for doing the wrong thing. So you might have an injunction or other relief available to you if such a tort or a breach were to occur. 3. Equity delights in equality. Equality is equity. So it's fairness for all. The same rule that applies to you applies to everyone. So the fact that it doesn't mean that someone has better law than the other person. Number 4, one who seeks equity must do equity. If you are the bad guy in the movie who has the top hat, the trench coat or the cape, and has that handlebar mustache and ties people to the railway tracks, and you are trying to sue the victim or trying to use the legal system to get ahead of someone, well, if you're a bad guy and you've done bad things, you're not going to be rewarded. And I'll clarify that. The court is not going to reward you in that instance if it relates to it. For example, if you held a gun to that person's head, say, sign this contract, that duress, the courts are not going to enforce that contract, although you did sign it, right? Cool. Number 5, equity aids the vigilant, not the indolent. So if you constantly make sure that you do everything in course of the contract on time and something bad finally happens, fair enough. But if you're just lazy and trying to rely on the contract to save you, then yeah, maybe not. So make sure you do the right thing. If you have deadlines and timelines, follow them. If you have obligations, follow them. Number 6, equity imputes an intent to fulfill an obligation. So what that means is you've got to do the obligation. If you're not going to do it and they don't have the capacity to do it, then the court's going to adhere to that, right? Number 7, equity acts in personam. What that means is your rights in equity are to you. They don't apply to necessarily objects. It is your personal right that you have, and you can, with arrangement, agree to sell your rights or trade your rights. 8, equity abhors a forfeiture. If there's an arrangement where everybody can win, it's not going to try and be destructive and just make everybody lose. If there's no reason to cancel the contract, it won't cancel the contract. So the whole aim of the idea is, if there's a way to fill the contract where it's a bit of a win-win for everybody, it's going to use that as the baseline rather than just cancelling it. Equity does not require an idle gesture. What that generally means is the court's not going to hold you to do something that is just token or trivial. So for example, I want you to go to the other side of town and buy a 5-cent ticket. If that ticket doesn't have any bearing on the contract, there's no point to enforce that if that's no value being given or if it's actually not serving any point, but more of an annoyance in the contract. He who comes to equity must come with clean hands. What that means is if you have, say, stolen all the money, or you're stealing money if you're doing something like embezzling money from a company, and you are then bought a house, and then with that house you want to then sell the house and get all the money off it, the courts will be inclined, might not be inclined to give you that money back, considering it's stolen goods. So there is a degree of, you must have clean hands when you are dealing in equity itself. Number 11, equity delights to do justice, but not in harms. What that means is if there's a complete solution, it's going for the complete solution. It's not going to go the option of they win, you lose. If everyone can win, sure, do it. But just bear that in mind. Equity will, number 12, equity will take jurisdiction to avoid multiplicity of suits. What that means, you're not going to have different equitable matters being solved or issues being put through different courts when it could be all put into the one court itself. Now that makes a bit more sense, because at the end of the day, if you can deal with the matter with one judge, why would you take 5 or 6, right? It's an efficiency thing. So if you can apply equity above the contract, then you can do that in your civil court. Number 13, equity follows the law. If something is illegal, it is not going to encourage that person to do illegal things. 14, equity will not assist a volunteer. If you did something as a volunteer, you shouldn't be rewarded for it. Simple. Now the next one is where equities are equal, the law will prevail. What that means is if you're both at fault, just follow the contract. The next one is where equities are equal, the first in order will prevail. That's kind of in place when you start buying property or whatnot, where the first person who's registered it may have access to the property, the second ones may not. So it looks at if they got the exact same thing, like someone's been sold the property twice, the first person to register may be the first one to have title on the land, and they may prevail. Number 17, equity will not perfect a imperfect gift. What that means is if you haven't done the right thing, or you haven't done all the things that you needed to do that were material, so for example, not pay your stamp duty, then chances are you're not going to get the property if it's been foreclosed and you lost it. If you haven't done everything you need to do, or for example with title, if you have not registered the actual property, the courts might not be able to register when someone else has registered over the top of you. Number 18, equity will not allow a statute to be used as a cloak for fraud. What that means is where the law is going to benefit someone that seems really unfair, the courts of equity aren't necessarily going to allow that to occur. Number 19, equity will not allow a trust to fail for want of a trustee. If you can't find a trustee, the courts may appoint another one who then can distribute the assets to the beneficiaries. So that means that, sure, if the paperwork's not there, look at that intent rather than form, then the court may need to step in and allow another trustee, and that will allow the trust to occur. And that brings me to the point 20. Equity regards the beneficiary as the true owner. So what that means is if you're in a trust and you're the beneficiary, or say you're the beneficiary, at the end of the day, it will treat you as the owner. So if someone has done some form of corruption or embezzlement, you'll be able to take action potentially against them. Now, Overall, what does this mean? It's quick and simple. Basically, if you have a contract with someone, it's not black and white. There is shades of grey. You're looking for the whole idea of the bad guy is not going to be rewarded for upsetting or potentially doing bad things to the person. So I'll rephrase it. So what that means, the bad person isn't necessarily going to benefit from their deeds. In addition to that, it also means the good person, as long as they've done the good things and it's all above board legally, may have the ability to claim compensation, or at least be able to be able to have some actions available against the bad person. So hopefully that's a very simple definition of the Maxims of Equity. It's a bit of an overview. Hopefully it helped you. If you do like these style of videos, please like and subscribe. And hopefully that informs some of my American friends. All right, take care. Until next time, have a good one. Bye.